Shabbos, stay tuned. There's a Gavaldiga podcast. Rabbi Steve Geller does a Gavaldiga Zach, and that'll be coming out this week. Torah Giants on Chumash. Shalom Uvrach, and welcome to the weekly piece on the Parsha from Torah Giants on Chumash, written by Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Goodman, the Rabbi Emeritus of Yisro Rockaway. Sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to Torah Giants on Chumash. I'm Steve Geller. This week, Rabbi Goodman takes a concept we're all familiar with, that everyone was healed at Har Sinai, and really gives us all the amazing color and detail. Let's take a look at our Parsha. B'chodesh HaShlishi, in the third month of Bnei Yisrael's departure from the land of Egypt, on that very day they came to the desert of Sinai. Rabbi Goodman summarizes a lengthy essay by the Gaon Rav Yitzchak Kasavsky of Johannesburg. The Midrash Tanchuma on this pasuk records the following: B'chodesh, Hashem said, Chiddush, new things I will do, and I will renew you. Among the people are the blind, deaf, and crippled. My Torah is whole, as it says, Torah's Hashem Tamima. The Torah of Hashem is perfect. Shall I give it to this generation? If I wait to give it to their sons, I will postpone the joy of Torah. What did Hashem do instead? He healed them and gave them the Torah. The blind saw, as it says, all the people saw the sounds. The deaf heard, as it says, all that God said we will do and we will listen. The lame became whole, as it says, they stood beneath the mountain. Rabbi Goodman quotes a second midrash, similar but different, in Psikta de Rav Kahana. We find added that the mute were healed as well, as it says, all the people answered together. However, the approach of that second midrash is entirely different, focusing on the messianic redemption. Just as in the end of times, the blind will see, the deaf will hear, the crippled will run, and the mute will speak, so too at Har Sinai, Hashem caused all these blemishes to vanish. It seems quite clear that the first midrash is not talking about physical blemishes, but rather spiritual inadequacy. Despite the fact that they had such a glorious vision of Hashem's awesome power and splendor at the splitting of the sea, right after that they immediately started complaining for better food, better water, and all as they were headed towards Har Sinai. This was a speedy decline in their spiritual connection and led Hashem to decide that he must give the Torah to people who are all on a spiritually perfect level. The concept of eyes that see and ears that hear is found frequently in Tanakh as having spiritual connotations. Moshe tells us before he departs the world, Hashem did not grant you a heart to know and eyes to see and ears to hear until this day. This is an expression surely meant only in a spiritual sense. So too, the lame are those who cannot stand firmly on both feet, but vacillate in their basic beliefs. If this presumption is correct, we can understand the thought of perhaps waiting for another generation before giving the Torah. For as quoted above, Moshe indeed noted that the new generation born in the desert did have seeing eyes and hearing ears after spending 40 years under Hashem's unique protection and providence. But had Hashem waited to give the Torah to this new generation, the great manifestation of his glory on Har Sinai would not have been needed, for this subsequent generation would have accepted the Torah on pure faith. The healing that occurred in this chapter was Hashem coming down to the mountain in a unique encounter that itself purified and elevated every single Jew to the greatest spiritual heights. For how can any human being have such an experience and not clearly recognize the full glory of Hashem's exalted presence and being? This also explains why the first midrash did not mention curing the mute. The prophets call upon Israel to open their eyes, hearts, and ears, but not their mouths. Silence is not seen as a blemish, but as an asset to be treasured. The second midrash, speaking of the coming times of Mashiach, dealt with the purely physical aspects of healing. Simply for the honor and glory of the Jewish people, Hashem also decided to cure all physical blemishes at Har Sinai as well, to match the physical perfection he has in store for us at the end of time. Hence, the mute will also be cured in that version. But here there is no thought of waiting for another generation, for if Hashem placed in the laws of nature that among hundreds of thousands of people there would be a number of lame, deaf, or blind, this would recur in the next generation as well. And we can now fully appreciate the Midrash in Shir HaShirim that states that the following pasuk deals with the great encounter at Har Sinai. You are completely beautiful, and you are without blemish. Once it says that we're completely beautiful, there's no need to say that we have an absence of blemishes. But the deeper meaning of this is, it speaks to both aspects. For the occasion of receiving the Torah, Hashem saw to it that you are completely beautiful in a spiritual sense, and to add to the pleasure of the moment, there is no physical blemish in you either. And this beautiful piece by Rabbi Goodman made me wonder if there was a hidden message in that pasuk in Tehillim. Torah is Hashem Temima. The Torah of Hashem is perfect. Meshivas Nafesh, restoring the soul. Doesn't that exactly describe our first midrash stating that the healing at Har Sinai was spiritual in nature? Rashi seems to think so, explaining that restoring the soul restores the soul from the ways of death to the ways of life. And speaking of physical and spiritual beauty, the perfect thing to do with this physical video is to share its spiritual message with family and friends. And Hashem has made that effortless as well. All you have to do is like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and most important, hit the share button, which lets you simply paste the link to this video into emails, Facebook, texts, WhatsApp groups, or your social media of choice. They will all appreciate you for it, and it will help recreate the perfection of receiving all of the Torah that we learn. We go to yeshiva to learn, that's Torah. We seek closeness to Gedolim, that's Torah. We daven for inspiration and v'sein chalkeinu b'sorasecha, that's Torah. We come up with chidushim in our own learning, that's Torah. Maybe. Share your chidushim. Send your original Torah pieces to torahmaybe@gmail.com or email that address for more information. Also visit www.youtube.com/@torahmaybe.